Today, we're going to unlock the hidden code that pretty much runs our daily lives, the psychology of habits. We're going to explore the science behind why we do what we do, and, more importantly, how you can actually take back control. Let's dive in. So, first, just a quick question for you. Think about your days so far. Seriously, from the moment you woke up, how many of your actions were conscious choices, and how many of them just kind of happened? That feeling of being on autopilot? Well, it's way more common than you think, and it's actually by design.
And look, this isn't just about little routines. The power of changing your habits can be absolutely life-altering. I mean, check out this story, inspired by the work of Charles Duhigg. This woman completely turned her life around, and when neurologists looked inside her brain, they saw the proof. The actual physical patterns in her brain had been rewired. Now that is the kind of potential we're talking about today.
Okay, so let's start with this whole idea of being on autopilot. From brushing your teeth to the exact route you take to work, a huge chunk of our day isn't run by active decision-making at all. It's run by these deeply ingrained scripts buried in our brain.
Our brain does this for a very good reason. It's all about efficiency. It is a master at saving energy. By turning these common sequences of actions into automatic routines, it frees up a ton of mental space for more important stuff. But the catch is, sometimes it can feel like we're just stuck in this wheel, running routines that we don't even remember choosing in the first place.
So how does the brain build these automatic routines? Well, it turns out there's this simple, elegant, and incredibly powerful blueprint that runs underneath every single habit you have, whether it's good or bad. And we're about to crack that code.
And here it is. This is the famous habit loop, a concept popularized by Charles Duhigg. It's a simple three-step process. You've got a trigger, a routine, and a reward. Every habit you have, from biting your nails to your morning workout, it follows this exact neurological pattern. All right, let's break it down. Step 1 is the trigger. Think of this as the cue, the little switch that tells your brain to just go into automatic mode and run a specific program. It could be a time of day, a place, an emotion, or even a sensory cue, like that amazing smell of coffee when you walk into the kitchen. That trigger immediately launches step 2, the routine. This is the habit itself, the actual thing you do, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional. So you smell the coffee, and bam, you automatically start the routine, grinding the beans, brewing the pot, and pouring that first glorious cup.
And finally, we have the most critical part of the whole thing, the reward. This is the payoff. The reward is what tells your brain, hey, this whole loop, it's useful. Let's remember this for next time. So for our coffee example, it's that jolt of caffeine, that feeling of warmth and being ready for the day. That reward is what makes the entire loop stick.
Okay, so that's the psychological model, and it's a fantastic framework. It really is. But what's physically happening inside our heads? What parts of our brain are firing and wiring together to make this loop so incredibly powerful?
Well, to understand this, you can think of your brain's habit-forming functions as a little team. First, you've got the basal ganglia. It's deep in the brain, and it's the autopilot. It stores and runs the habit programs. Then there's the prefrontal cortex, which is like the CEO of your brain. It makes the initial decision to try something new. But once the basal ganglia takes over, the CEO can kind of just sit back and relax. And the thing that glues it all together is dopamine, the reward chemical that floods your brain when you get that reward, basically screaming, "Yes, do that again!"
So here's where it gets really exciting. Now that we understand the blueprint, that trigger, routine, reward loop, and the brain team behind it, we're no longer just passengers. We can become the architects. We can actually start hacking our own habits.
And this whole hacking process really comes down to two main goals. On one side, we want to build good habits, which means creating these positive loops from the ground up. And on the other, we want to break bad habits, which is less about destroying them and more about deconstructing and reprogramming the loops that are already running.
So how do you build a good habit? Well, first, and this is key, start ridiculously small. The goal isn't to run a marathon, it's just to put your running shoes on. So instead of 1 hour of studying, just start with 10 minutes. Second, design your triggers to be super obvious. Want to drink more water in the morning? Put a full glass of water right on your nightstand before bed. And finally, you have to consciously reward yourself, immediately. You finish your 10 minutes of studying? Great, watch a funny video. That immediate dopamine hit is what locks in the loop.
Now, for breaking those bad habits, the logic is just flipped. You attack the loop. Start by figuring out your triggers. If you're always mindlessly scrolling social media, the trigger might be your phone notifications, so turn them off. Next, substitute the routine. The trigger and the reward can stay, but you swap out the behavior. So if stress triggers you to snack, try going for a short walk instead. You still get the reward, a break from the stress, but with a much healthier routine. And seriously, above all, be patient. You're rewiring years of neural pathways. Consistency is everything.
And this image just illustrates that transformation perfectly. By understanding the loop and learning how to manipulate it, you literally climb out of the wheel. You go from being unconsciously driven by these automatic programs to being in conscious command, choosing which routines you want running your life.
Okay, let's take this one step further for our final section. Because beyond just hacking the loop itself, there are some fundamental lifestyle things that can make your entire brain more receptive to change. You can create the perfect neural environment to build better habits.
The entire science of habit change is built on this one absolutely incredible concept: neuroplasticity. This is the physical reality that your brain is not fixed. It's constantly changing, molding, and rewiring itself based on your experiences and your actions. This is what makes learning a new habit physically possible in the first place.
So, how do we create the best possible conditions for this neuroplasticity? Well, scientific research points to a few powerful levers we can all pull. Things like mindfulness and meditation, prioritizing quality sleep, getting regular exercise, and even just getting some morning sunlight can have profound effects on our brain's ability to change.
Let's just zero in on sleep for a second. It is not passive downtime. When you're sleeping, your brain is working hard. It's running maintenance, clearing out junk, and, crucially for us, it's consolidating memories. It's strengthening the neural connections for the things you learned that day, essentially locking in the new habits you're trying to build. Bad sleep literally sabotages your efforts to form new habits.
And what about exercise? We all know it's good for us, but here's why it is a complete game changer for habits. Physical activity releases a protein called BDNF, and honestly, the best way to think about BDNF is like Miracle-Gro for your brain. It promotes the growth of new neurons and strengthens connections, literally making your brain a more fertile ground for new habits to grow.
So, there you have it. The habit loop, the brain team behind it, and the tools to make your brain more changeable. You now have the user manual, the blueprint to your own operating system. So the only question left is, what new program are you going to install first?